Vintage AM/FM transistor pocket radio repair. Wonder what brand it is. The antenna's broken off, the case is rotting away, but it's got 10 transistors. Let's see. It is a Sunmark. And unfortunately my camera died, so I'm using the telephono today. So we'll see how this turns out. 10 transistors, 4 diodes. Japanese capacitors. Weird, made in Hong Kong out of Japanese parts. Let's see if we can make it work. I'm also a little bit crammed for space on the bench because I have a really cool Resurrection TV set sitting on it that I'm afraid will turn to dust if I try and move it. Okay, I got 9 volts here. I got my current limiting light bulb right there, that little tiny grain of wheat, or grain of sand. Current milliamps, let's see. Got my offensive greasy gloves. And we got 12 milliamps there. I wonder if that's AM or FM. It looks like that's FM, so that's sort of acceptable. On a 9-volt battery, that's 8 hours of playtime maybe. Ooh. So on AM we dropped to 8 milliamps.
Can you afford planning with peace of mind, with comfort, with some sort of certainty? When you have the...
Who's ran a soup kitchen? A volunteer. Yes, I am. In other words...
So, sounds like we have bad capacitors. A bad AVC filter is causing it to squeal, and bad coupling capacitors are causing the low volume, low audio.
You gotta understand that...
I do?
To cherish...
And it seems like the oscillator just stops right there. See? Let me get an antenna. One thing I like about the phone versus the camcorder is the phone has a pause button on it, so I can literally just, I don't have to have all these clips, because I do very little editing to these videos. Very little. I don't really do any retakes or anything like that, corrections. think that's the FM antenna. Oh yeah, I hear something. Yeah, it's tuning stations in. They're just very weak. Okay, let's give this just a little squirt spritzer here. Our silicone infused lube.
And we see from the letters of Paul that
Yeah, it won't even run up high. Now, what is this loose like this? This is annoying. This is a $5 radio that was left for dead. Probably should have been left dead. So very low volume on FM but tuning stations, and very low volume and squealing on AM, and the oscillator only runs in a certain little section. So of course I want to just say, maybe I want to hope that it's just these electrolytic capacitors are open, but at the same time I don't want to shoot myself by, you know, accusing capacitors and then it turns out to be a transistor or one of the IF transformers or anything else that could go wrong in here. So I guess let's get the board out and check some of the capacitors. There's no schematic with this. There's probably, the schematic came with the little manual, if at all, and yeah, you're not gonna get a schematic for a Sunmark, I don't think. But we could get around that, hopefully. I've sort of figured out that the best way to remove these stupid little beauty things that they like to glue over the screws is with really sticky tape, and this one is not cooperating. There we go. Success. So now I can get these screws out, which will let the board come the rest of the way out, because yeah. What a disappointment this is. Could you imagine having a job assembling this all day long? Is that a capacitor right there? It's interesting here, it looks like it says wireless AFS 100. Wow, this is going to be a joy to work on. The traces peel off if you just look at them sideways. So, is this the coupling capacitor from the center of the volume control? Let me get a magnet. What is this that comes up over the... Oh, those are the wires to the... Boy, what a cluster. Alright, so checking some of these capacitors in here. Of course, this one on the back is completely open. But then I start probing some of these over here in the audio circuit, and they're not totally open. 10 ohms for a radio like this is probably acceptable. So we follow the center of the volume control. 30 ohms. That's acceptable. So I'm going to go through and check these, and I think the way to do it is just to start bypassing them. Okay, so using the capacitor wizard, it appears all the gray capacitors they're high ESR. They're all, 5 to 10. All the little black ones are reading completely open. And I was kind of following this one right here. I believe this is the FM stabilizing capacitor. We should have 2 diodes there, which we do. We have one there. I'll focus on the topic. We have a Toshiba 1N60 right there. We have another one there. So those are the 2 FM detectors. This is the FM stabilizing capacitor. That shouldn't matter. This one right here looks like it couples the FM or the AM to the switch, because you can see it's something. Oh, that's the FM antenna. Get a pointer here. That capacitor, I believe, is between these two, and it follows this blue wire up to the AM/FM switch. And this side of these are the 3 legs of the volume control: ground, input, and output. And this comes over to the band selector switch too. So I have no idea what maybe that's the AVC capacitor. Okay, that's obviously open. How about, I think there's one up here. Let's go to AM.
We'll stand on yours.
Headphone Lovers Special. Okay, that's obviously not. Okay, that's not. Oscillator, stop running. Okay, where's the AVC filter? Stand by. Okay, I finally figured out which leads are the black one in the audio circuit here. And it actually comes off the volume control into a disc capacitor. And then I think it's... So that's where a lot of our gain is going. So let me go back to FM. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah, so we got this one's open. I'm on FM now. So that one's open and this one's open. So with those two changed, FM should be blaring. Okay, let me change those. This is not going to be easy to work on. This circuit board is not designed to be serviced. So when replacing these really old electrolytic capacitors, you really have to look. Because if you see on this, the old one, the positive is marked. On the new one, the negative is marked. And yeah, I'm just pulling them off of this old board. This radio is not a prime specimen worthy of new capacitors, so I'm testing them before I pull them off. But yeah, you really got to look at the positive is marked on the old one, the negative is marked on the new one. Okay, now that that one's changed, let's relocate the leads for this one up here. See if we can... These things are so hard to find. It's not those. Okay, it's those. So I want to desolder those two. Okay.
Still, 28 years later, the bank took the house. Simply not true unless you default on the loan, just like any other.
These engineers are working to identify and direct space debris to clear the way for new missions. Buffalo.edu/NPR. And from Progressive Commercial Insurance.
From one of your articles, quote, reframing the politics of
Maria 92.3.
Turn your radios off.
Kind of noisy.
Resort and Casino in San Manuel. And it's gotta be scary to witness we carry these carries.
Tiendas de gasolina. Free play.
What they say, they got it. We love you. I mentioned this a couple.
Has the selectivity of a TRF set. Still the same thing, it runs out. Bad tuning capacitor. I don't know. I know that's open. We should change it. but it doesn't seem to make any difference. Okay, well maybe if I had looked at this, because this was glued to this, now I can see that we are connected between this point and this point. I thought this and this are separate. So let's try that again. Headphone users fall in love. Just listen. Listen how awesome this sounds. So cool. Okay, let's go over what we got here. We changed 4 capacitors. They were all the same, 5 microfarad, the ones with these epoxy bottoms. They were all open, all of them. 5 microfarad, 6 volt. They've all been replaced with 4.7 50 volts that tested good. I checked all the gray capacitors, they're all good. Let's take a performance listen to this radio. It's not very good, but it probably wouldn't be. Start at the top of the band. She ain't gonna tie me down.
On social, but also on Go Country 105. I've been sharing little teasers of it. Not wait for you guys to hear the song and also watch the music video because you know.
All the strong stations just smear on top of the weaker ones.
Quicker. Each sheet 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less than the leading ordinary brand. So you can get back to your milkshake. My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard.
32,
We have tears, ladies and gentlemen. Is that good? Oh, that's good. Mom loves it. And I love that Italian leather. Fabulous brand.
Chicken sandwiches around. Freshness rocks. And at Extra Mile, we're coming in hot. Extra Mile convenience stores at select Chevron and Texaco locations. Why do we... I've come to terms with it.
Like I said, it has a selectivity of a TRF set on FM.
That is Neve Campbell, who writes for the Belfast Telegraph in Northern Ireland. The South Korean poet and political economy. I think one of the things that struck me was...
It would be interesting to check the IF alignment, but they got all the cores are all waxed, so no one's been in there, and I don't think it drifted that much. These IF transformers don't drift. Just can't believe it performs this bad almost.
That short spring
Right. With a quite guarantee. So you can pay for this.
Let's do AM again. Now, I'm starting to think we got a bad tuning capacitor because watch and listen.
With massive new spending programs, the Fed is printing money even faster than before. This will likely cause the dollar to and gold prices to rise.
natural death. Our next goal is 500 million memoraries.
Now you'll notice there's no squealing right here.
Let us pray.
See, and then it just dies right there. And then it picks back up.
Log on site Midas Gold Group.
Grades K through 12 to create a customized education for each.
Got to be plates shorting together. Let's see.
Because who doesn't want to have lasting happiness, joy rooted in God? Join me daily at 6 p.m. Central on Relevant Radio or the Relevant Radio app.
Okay, that's the antenna trimmer.
You know, we receive over 1 million prayer requests every year, thanks in part to the Catholic Order of Foresters studio line, helping us stay connected to your intentions.
Okay, that's the oscillator.
And the Illinois Life Insurance Society, not available.
When you pray, pray big. Pray for everything. You don't have to tone it down. God has the ability to do anything.
The Drew Mariani Show on Relevant Radio.
Okay,
Yeah, that's part of my belief, no doubt. You know, my father always
I need to learn to keep this thing centered right there. So, antenna, oscillator.
Why hold out a small cup? Why
So I want to,
limit God with small intentions? Pray big. St. Faustina said the same thing. Right? One of the things that wounds the Lord is our distrust. You know, he says that so often souls don't ask for enough, that we underestimate him.
So
pray
that
big.
one
Pray
and
that
that one.
cancer issue that, you know, is vanquished. You know, pray for that mobility.
So let's test
Pray
it.
for
I do not see a short here. I'm measuring on the antenna and I'm rotating the knob and I do not see a short. I'm going to go over to the oscillator. This is ground. This is the oscillator. And I got nothing. This is a weird one. So let me try this. I'm going to put it right up on the edge of where it cuts out.
You'll change your sound.
Han visitado un dentista, tienen problemas dentales, los han dejado.
Boy, this thing exhibits some very... What's that piece of trash it's pushing around in there? See that? What's going on in here?
Drugs like mushrooms, so I open.
Interesting. So now it's tracking, it's working right there and not. Let me think about this. Is this a bad converter transistor or open resistor somewhere?
Daughters can't attend university because of their credit scores. How to get a bad credit score? You jaywalk, you speed, you get a ticket, you're late on a payment, you know, your financial credit's bad. I mean, a whole litany of things. You buy
Okay, I'm adjusting the tuning capacitor.
Look and feel 10 to 20 years younger.
Oop, oscillator just quit.
Folks, I finally have the chance.
follow that example.
Just
A social credit scoring system.
Your life.
weird. So right there, the oscillator is just running at 1 megahertz and it's not changing as I turn the capacitor. I'm turning the capacitor, turning the tuning control. This should be changing.
Like this, right? Till they get the foundation set.
This is a really weird issue. Now it's up at 2 megahertz. God, the noises this thing makes are just so addictive. 2.27. So you got to remember that frequency minus 455 is what you're tuning in.
Monitoring. Word. You know, I don't know. You can say things.
So it's weird. It's like the oscillator starts on certain frequencies and it just stays there even as you're turning the tuning control. It doesn't vary. It's like it's very weird.
Or proprietary. So basically, they give you all.
No wonder why it's squealing. You're just adjusting the antenna. Look at that. That disc capacitor is not even soldered in. I don't think it ever was. I didn't pull that out of there. I doubt that's going to fix it. The oscillator only wants to run at 1 speed, and that seems like maybe the oscillator coil or the tuning capacitor. I don't know. Even when I turn the trimmers, it doesn't vary the speed. I fixed that capacitor. There's no way that was ever connected from the factory. And I got the oscillator section of the tuning capacitor disconnected, and it just doesn't change. When I do that,
Navigating this environment, struggles with supply chain, or something that we're all experiencing.
CEO Michelle Buck.
nothing I do varies the oscillator frequency. It's just like sticks at one spot. This tuning capacitor is working. I'm going to turn it down a little bit. $69. I'm going to turn it up all the way. I need to go to fixed focus. Oh, you want to focus on that. Okay, I'm learning. Okay, I'm going to turn it down a little bit. This has a cutoff. This will only go down so low. Okay, I'm going to turn it down a little bit more. Turn it down a little bit more. Turn it down a little bit more. That's all the way. That's bottom, 26 picofarads. Okay, I'm going to go all the way up to the top. Okay, that's maxed out. So it's like 26 to 150. And it's working. Yeah, it's working. What the hell is wrong with this thing? I don't know. This is a trip. Maybe it's the converter transistor. I ohmed out the red core oscillator coil and it's not open. And I don't see any other breech solder joints. I checked the band switch. It's making contact everywhere it should. This is a tough one. Maybe that converter transistor. There's the converter transistor right there. 2SA 433. Might have to pull that guy out. How close can I zoom up in? Oh, man, this thing really... You can see the spray there, from spraying the control switch. Wow, I like that. Okay, I changed the converter transistor to a Russian one, and it's the same thing. I did notice that we have a resistor, a 1K resistor that's gone up to 1.4K. I might change that. Squeal Pony Maxi Play. Alright, I changed that resistor that was reading 1.4K and I put a new 1K in. I put the original transistor back in, which is kind of interesting because it actually uses that for FM too. It lost a lot of FM gain when I had that out. This resistor, the emitter resistor, the 1K emitter resistor, was reading 1.4K. So I changed that. You can see I put a little 1/8 watt job in there. See how much this will zoom in. That's pretty nice. That's an 1/8 watt resistor. So we got our transistor back in. This is a really weird one where the tuning capacitor is working, it's hooked up, but it's not changing the frequency. And I'm going to have to do a little research. It seems like somewhere I remember running into this issue and the oscillator coil was bad in a radio. And this is the oscillator coil right here, the red can. So I'm going to have to do some research. I got to get to the bottom of this. Even though it's such a poor performer, I want to get to the bottom of it. I might just try swapping that red can. I think those are kind of universal. So anyway, I'm going to take a break for today and kind of see if I can dig up just some generic schematics and see if I can figure out what's going on here. I did check all the rest of the resistors. We got a 47K there, which was right on. We got a 5K there, which was right on. The disc capacitors do not have any values on them, which makes it kind of difficult. back to our Sunmark vintage transistor radio. It's the next day, which was tomorrow, or maybe it's yesterday. I pulled the oscillator can out, and the red one is the oscillator. And I did a little research on the schematics. This is one of those Chinese radio kits. And of course, you know, the colors are supposed to be the same, and I believe the pinouts and everything are the same. I dug this out, and I was just looking through a bunch of these randomly for a schematic that's sort of matched. And the Buluva, where's the Buluva in here? The Buluva radio actually kind of buluvated. Here it is, the Buluva. See, there you go. So this schematic is very close, very close. We have our 1,000 ohm resistor. The only difference is this set runs on 4.5 volts, not 9 volts. So the biasing resistors are a little different. But this is our main oscillator circuit right here. And it's just like a typical, what, 6 or 7 transistor AM honcoidal pocket radio. So basically, we have the switches, AM FM switch. So when we go to AM, 11 drops down and connects to 13, and 14 drops down and connects to 16, basically making this the converter. So how many, this has 2 IF stages, right? And they're stacked. So there's not a lot to this converter circuit here. We have, if you just knock all of this stuff back here, just take this out of the picture. So we have our oscillator transistor, which also doubles as the first FMIF, which explains why when I had the transistor out, I lost a lot of FM gain, like all of it. And then we have our red can right here, red cord can, and our bar antenna. And this is almost identical. And this shows the pin out, and I'm going to double check the pin out, but I believe it's the same. I also ordered a bunch of these cans. Somebody in South America had them. Yeah, these came from Argentina. So this seller was selling the parts reasonable, but the shipping was, they got you on the shipping on every one, and they didn't combine it. So here's white, here is red, here is black. We don't want that. Here is red. Here is yellow. And then the seller also had a bunch of stuff like knobs and tuning capacitors, and what are these yellow things? Crystal filters? I don't think I ordered. Huh. But they had all kinds of radio parts, and I do like working on I like working on these radios, you know. It's boring when they're just recaps, but this one has proven to be a real struggle. Now all of these are measuring the same, which is sort of good and bad. That suggests that this is not the problem with the radio. And I don't know what the hell the problem is with this thing. This one's really got me stumped. So I put a different oscillator thing in there, can, and it's pretty much the same. In fact, I think it's worse. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to Maybe I'll substitute the tuning condenser. Maybe it's way off. Maybe it's, yeah. Huh. I'm to the point with this where this is such a simple circuit, I'm going to just start substituting parts. Okay, the antenna side is 152 picofarads maxed out and 32 at minimum. It seems even. I thought domestic radios were different. The antenna and the oscillator. Let me check one of these ones I got from this guy in Argentina. Same garbage.
Toyota dealer, so go in today for great deals on a new Camry with its sleek design and get out there for some good times. These deals.
What the f is wrong with this thing? Okay, next I'm going to change yellow, which is, this is red. Red is right here. That's the oscillator. Yellow is the one that it directly connects to. And you can see yellow has a capacitor in it. Maybe the capacitor went bad in this one. Still don't understand why it would cause the oscillator not to run. Okay, I think we have success here. I pulled yellow out.
There was a holdup, and somebody got run over, a homeless person got run over. They need all the manpower, and they couldn't deal with it. But I understand.
The ticking is the phone.
Talk to the neighbor. I say I've tried, but they'll push you out, and quite frankly, I'm scared for my life. That's why I need you. And I'm not a rat. Believe me, I'm not a rat. Please. Playing that, but this is the worst part about it. And
What did you say?
like they're all screaming.
한편 유럽연합 order now and be prepared. And it'll run. She left a big hole in all our lives.
That's a stalled vehicle report. It might be a truck.
It hasn't been aligned at all. The two transformers I replaced are just wherever they were set from the factory. So, IF transformer number 1 was keeping the oscillator from running. The little capacitor, which I don't see it in this one, the little capacitor must be bad. I mean, it has to be. I'll show you on the schematic. So this is our Buluva schematic. So that's the antenna. That's the red transformer, the oscillator coil. This right here, that is the yellow. And then it would go yellow, white, black. Red, yellow, white, black are the color codes. So it must be this little capacitor in here. They're not silver mica capacitors, they're like ceramic capacitors, but it must have gone bad. Let me check the ohms on it, because I think it checked the ohms, check the resistance. Resistance is good all the way around, so it has to be that capacitor. Okay, here's looking at the scope now. Now watch what happens when I adjust. I'm at the bottom of the band. It's the top of the band. It's the bottom of the band. See how the frequency varies now like it should? scope is putting out so much noise. Keep in mind the radio has not been aligned.
What will Putin do next, and when will he do it? Charles Feldman, KNX News, 97.1 FM.
5 days after he...
So it's 1.56 megahertz, and it's not real detailed, but mine is 455. So that'd be probably close to 1070, right?
Will be confronted with a simple...
And I'm using a low capacitance probe with this. Let's see, what is this? You have to use a very low capacitance probe, or else you'll just kill it. So assuming what's wrong with this is the built-in capacitor right there, we should be able to disassemble this, get the capacitor out, then reinstall this in the radio, put a trimmer, one of these trimmers on the bottom, and then align it using the trimmer, take the trimmer off, measure it, put a fixed capacitor on the bottom. Then after that, go back and align it using the core to get it perfectly. Now I got to get the wax out of this. So I'll probably just do that with a heat gun. I can hold it upside down and get it hot with a heat gun and tap the wax out. So first thing I'll do is I'll measure. So I've tightened them all down. So this one at maximum is 228 picofarads. That's probably about perfect. This thick one here is 857 picofarads. That's probably too much. And this one here is only 45 picofarads. I don't think that's enough. I think that capacitor is somewhere between 75 and 200 picofarads. It's unknown. We don't know what it is. And we're not just going to guess and say it's 100. Okay, well, it didn't quite come apart like I thought, but you can see the capacitor in there. See it? See the little tubular? It's very hard to get this to focus. Anyway, you can see the capacitor right there. Oh, you want to... There we go. What do you want to focus on? You're confused. But anyway, the little tubular capacitor is right there. And you can see it on both sides here. I'm going to try and cut it out. I'm assuming that's what's wrong with this because the coils all measure good. Little ceramic tubular capacitor that should never go bad unless the solder broke. If the solder broke away from the little tube, which it might have, give you an idea of how small this thing is that you're looking at. There you go. I actually got the capacitor out, and I do not see how that could be bad. Where did it go? I don't see how that could be bad. Unless that's silver mica disease right there. Around the solder, see that blackish crap? I can't point to that, but you just have to... Right in this, I'm trying. Oh, can't do it. Anyway, that thing is so damn microscopic. Well, it's measuring 31 picofarads. For some reason, I think that's kind of low for AM. I think it should be up around 100 and something. So this trimmer at a minimum is 30 picofarads. So this is a 30 to 200. So that's like the perfect range. Okay, I got the thing back together. I imagine I should heat it up and get the wax out of it before I put it back in the bore. That way I don't have to heat the germanium transistors up with a heat gun. That wouldn't be good.
It's a big topic today, and we're going to talk about...
Okay, still working okay right now. I'm going to pull the transformer out and put the one with the capacitor removed back in. So if you look at these, and I might be going way too far on this little 10-cent radio. You look at the solder joints on that capacitor where it's wrapped around, and it looks clean. You look at this one, see that black stuff there? It's like clean silver mica disease. Or maybe not silver mica disease, but like a, because it's a ceramic tubular capacitor, but like corrosion or oxidation. There's a definite clear difference there. All right, so let's see how it works with the capacitor removed. Like worse than ever. All right, I have our trimmer there connected across the 2 points. It's nice that they bring that one through. Let's see what happens here. Just kind of put that in the middle. Turn this up. Try and do this with one hand. All the stray capacitance here, it's like a big gimmick.
And the minstrel world.
So that was still not quite perfect, but that was obviously the problem, is the capacitor was bad in that IF transformer.
이와 함께 연구 시작 때와 일주일 후 설문조사를 통해 우울, 불안, 웰빙 항목에 대해서 점수를 매겼습니다. 일주일만 SNS를 사용을 중단해도 전반적인 웰빙 수준이 낮아지고 우울과 불안 증상은 줄어든다는 사실을 보여주는.
Already, if you stay ready. What? How does it go, Miles?
Seems like it wants a fairly high capacitance, because I got that cranked almost all the way down, and that's kind of where the peak volume is. We're going to get it on the signal generator now and dial it in for 455. Okay, 455. Here's our radio. We're under the beautiful green mercury vapor light. Yeah, right where I had it was like perfect. So like right there about. So that, I did it with two hands, and that's about, is that is. Let me try that again without standing in front of a podium with a seal on it. Okay. I did it again with two hands. I got it as close as I could get it. It's a really touchy adjustment. The way I couple this generator into these radios is I just lay this wire next to the antenna. That's all I do. Just loosely coupled. Sounds like a hot radio right now.
Without negotiating book by my friend Steve Wood. Arlington is 53, Burbank has 52.
Our hiring platform is
Just the towels, just...
Want to see if it'll get LA Oldies. It's still the oscillator's way off adjustment, so the antenna trimmer is not going to be anywhere close to peaked. I mean, I've been screwing with all the alignment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this off. Well, let me find LA Oldies. Okay, there it is. Buried in the noise. So we'll see how much we can improve that at the end of this video. Actually, what I'm going to do before I pull the capacitor off of there and measure it is I'm going to put the original oscillator coil back on. I put the original oscillator coil back in, so I'm back to the original transformers. I got to the root of the problem, which is that little capacitor. So let's find out what the correct value is, and the correct value is 167 picofarads. Where the hell am I going to get one of those? How about this? A 47 picofarad and a 120 picofarad. 169 picofarad. Capacitors exceed value of radio when new. Our two silver mica capacitors have now been installed. The 120 and the 47. It's working right. Now to just go and align it with the core as you usually would, just touch it up. Okay, same thing, we're just going to align the core this time. Just touch it up. It's about the best it's going to get right there. Didn't move it much. Going back together, I kind of bodged an antenna in there for the FM. If you remember, the one that was in there was not working. Well, I found something and kind of trimmed it and made it work. So there you go. I think I'll put the wax back in there. You see, I even repainted the yellow to make it where it chipped, to make it absolutely perfect mint condition. Sunmark radio. Wow, so it picks up K-Jazz now. I think correcting that capacitor issue in the AM-IF transformer fixed the FM because they're stacked IFs. So it had some effect, and the FM works much better now.
Combos for KCRW, and yes, please give it up for Spoon. Britt Daniel, Alex
Queen has the like that baby comes, it's like boom. So major repairs.
I'm a fool for this.
Weather forecast, shall we? Sunshine, cool today. In fact, hanging around downtown by myself. Woman, you want me? Give me a sign. Let me take you on a ride. Crazy guy, like you think you pop.
Much better.
대신 헌금을 요구했다라고 보시면 좋을 것 같아요.
Yeah, fixing the AM/IF transformer definitely fixed the FM. It's so much better than it was.
그런 상황에서 교회는 너무너무 아이러니하게
Childish, reckless, and irresponsible start coming from, or at least,
Hear my voice.
in the cool face that you are going to suffer the ramifications. That was. I wonder why he wants to. Point out.
And there are a lot of people, clearly, that still do that.
That ticking is the phone. There's LA Oldies. Remember how quiet it was? So there you go. There's the repair of a Sunmark radio. The problem was a bunch of 5 microfarad electrolytics, and, well, that resistor was up, but that thing was causing all that squealing and trouble. This has been a long transistor radio repair video, and like I said, these things are either easy or they're impossible and require microsurgery. There's like no in between with them.